Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. If you could please open your workbook and turn to page 30. Kathy Sexton still in the room? No? In the spirit of being more productive and managing our time well, we're going to choose not to do lengthy introductions. My name is Tom Ruwitch. That's Karen Fox. We're going to spend the next few minutes with you, and if you'd like to know a whole lot about us, you can read the bios at the bottom of page 30. If you want to know more about us, you can connect with us after the presentation. We'd be happy to meet you, talk to you, share anything you want to know about us and about our business. But we want to get right down to business and talk about how to create a communication strategy that will help you convert leads into customers. This is going to be an interactive session, so please pull a pen out. We're actually going to work through parts of the workbook as we push forward today, and we're going to jump right in. I want to ask a question right away, and that question is, how many of you in any form have promoted your business through a print advertisement, a radio advertisement, a direct mail campaign? Raise your hand if you've done any kind of advertising ever for your business. Okay. And Steve, what kind of advertisement was it that you've done? And I'll just repeat what he says. No? A public seminar, okay. So let's stick with a print advertisement or a radio advertisement, and good thing you're doing a public seminar, different deal. But how many of you have ever run an advertisement for your business in any form? Okay. Jennifer, what was it? Where was it? Okay. Okay, you ran a banner advertisement on KSDK's website. Great. And I have a question for you, Jennifer. Can you give me the names of the people who saw that ad? Okay. One of them? You? Okay. The point of the question, let's see if our clicker is working. It seems not to be. Hold on. That wasn't very productive. So we're going to talk today about 3 elements to developing a communication plan. And the idea is that if you are deliberate about all 3 of these elements, you are going to be able to grow your business more effectively. Attract more leads, convert more, engage them more effectively, convert more. And in a nutshell, we're talking about 3 things. We're talking about acquiring leads through a variety of attraction techniques. Advertising is an attraction technique. But we're going to talk about better ways to do it. We're talking about providing providing value to maximize engagement. And we're going to talk about how to identify your best prospects so that you're spending your selling time selling to people who are really, truly interested in doing business with you, as opposed to spinning your wheels talking to people who are going to be high resistant and not interested. So I asked this question about advertising, and the traditional approach to advertising is to put something in a newspaper or a banner ad at the top of a website, or to hire teleprospectors who make a phone call, or to advertise on television or radio, and to, in effect, say the following. Here's what we do. Here's why you should buy. Here's how to get started. Here's a number to call. Here's a website to visit, whatever the case may be. And so when I asked Jennifer the question, do you know who looked at that advertisement? Of course the answer is no, because the only people with whom she's going to interact in that situation are the ready buyers. The people who see the ad and think, you know what? I want to talk to Jennifer and organize my life, right? Organize my computer. Okay. I want to organize my computer. I'm going to call the ready buyers. And when you put a marketing message out there, pardon me, when you put a marketing message out there, only the smallest percentage, a fraction of 1% perhaps, would fall into the category that we would call a ready buyer. The vast majority of people who see your marketing message or hear your marketing message are what we would call the maybes. The key to attracting leads is to develop a communication strategy and tactics that gives the maybes a reason to raise their hand and to connect with you. I'll talk about that in more detail. And you should use multiple media instead of just one channel. And it can be so-called traditional media. I can't tell you how many people say to me, direct mail is dead, print advertising is dead, radio is dead. Nonsense. There are countless good ways to get your message out. The reason that the so-called traditional media work not as well as they might, or the reason that the so-called new media, social media, whatever the case may be, don't work as well as you might imagine and like, is that all you're doing is having conversations with the prospective yeses, the ready buyers, and you're leaving all of those people who might be willing to connect with you and might be willing to interact with you out in the cold. So I'm going to cite a couple of examples for you. And on page 32 of your worksheet, there are examples. There's a place for experts, ideas, and examples. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time coming up with our own ideas. So, example. If you come and visit the website for my company, or the blog where we share marketing tips, our blog, our company helps businesses grow using interactive technologies such as email marketing. And we'll talk later about email, Ben. Our company helps businesses grow using email and other interactive technologies. When somebody comes to our website, one of the most obvious calls to action is click here to get a free report, 10 secrets to write subject lines that sell. So think about what's going on with that. Who is going to fill out the form to say, I'm going to give you my name and my email to get that report? Well, the person who fills that out is somebody who might not be a ready buyer, who might not be the person who's going to see our advertisement, pick up the phone and say, how do I get started? But that person is most certainly someone who's interested in using email, using interactive marketing to grow the business. They're thinking about, oh, how can I more effectively sell writing better subject lines? So for every one person who might show up at my website, whose name I will never know, for every one person who might show up at my website and call me and say, let's do business, or let me take a demo of your software, I might get 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 people who sign up for the free report. Those people are the maybes. And what I've done is provided something of value to them. What they have done is said, I'm happy to give you my name and email in return. That's an example. Let's take a print advertising example. There's an accounting firm, a big accounting firm here in town, and their technique, their approach, is we want to get involved with helping small businesses manage QuickBooks. That's a stepping stone to the big prize for them of managing their whole accounting, doing their audits, doing their tax returns, and so forth. So they have an ad in the St. Louis Business Journal and St. Louis Small Business Monthly that says, QuickBooks is a beast. And it says, call this number or go to this website to get a free report on 5 things you can do immediately to tame QuickBooks. So for that accounting firm, what they're saying is, we understand that you don't have to be a ready buyer to engage with us. We understand you might be a maybe. You just want a little bit of help, some tips on QuickBooks. But that person who is struggling with QuickBooks is a great prospect. Give that person a reason to connect and interact so that you can begin a relationship with that person. And then you can begin to develop a broader communications experience with them to engage and convert. Karen, do you have some examples that you could share?
Yes, on the social media, you can go the same route. And again, it's all in the list. So whether you're using your social media to advertise a free report or a free video or whatever you're trying to accomplish with it, it doesn't matter what you're giving as long as they're willing to give you their information. So you can do that through your social media as well as contest and other areas. But again, it's just giving the opportunity to step up to the plate.
Yeah, and when I asked Steve about advertising, he talked about having a seminar. A seminar is an act of marketing to the maybes. What was the topic of the seminar, Steve? Yeah, so don't go broke in a nursing home, and you're targeting probably the children of the people who are making the decision for elder care for their parents. It's a great example. We're hosting a seminar where we're going to provide useful information to you. And let's take the mic to Steve, Karen.
Same way with a webinar.
That's right. It doesn't have to be a live event. So Steve, what is the actual product and service that you offer?
It would be to come do a free consultation where I can meet with the family or the loved one that's in charge of the care needs for that person,
But your
and
bus-
show them
Oops, sorry.
and show them give them some ideas of how to structure their finances or their insurance, of how they can best afford to pay for care as their parents need more care. So my job is for them to hire me by the hour or by the project to show them how to do that. Mm-hmm. If they buy a product or service, it's typically going to be insurance or an investment or what have you, but rather just charge them a fee for my time as opposed to being the typical financial guy that just wants to sell them something.
Mm-hmm. So the
I don't know if that explains it.
the product and service is financial services.
Correct.
The attraction technique is to say to the maybes, you're thinking about this whole business of elder care. It's very challenging. Rather than say, how about you sit down and I'll sell you some insurance policies or whatever. Let me spend some time with you educating you. Let me provide some value to you in the form of useful content that helps you sort through this hard question. Once you've done that, as I continue to engage you, and we'll talk about engagement more in a moment, many of you will come round to sitting down, hiring me, using my financial services. Good. So let's take a moment, and in a second we can turn the camera off. You just write down your ideas. What could you do in your business that would be of value to people who don't yet know you, who might visit your website? It could be something you offer in a website. It might be at the end of in the banner ad that you put on KSDK, click here to get ... In your radio ad, call this number to get, or go to our website to get, or to register for. What is it that you might offer the maybes to attract them, to get them simply to raise their hand and say, here's my name, here's my email, let's talk, or let's connect. Take just a moment or two, and then we'll call on some people and share some ideas. All right, who wants to be a guinea pig? Who has a great idea that they want to share? Let's see some hands. Scott has one.
Reframing that as you use that to go to the maybes is also reposition that and use that as a PR opportunity. Think of the headlines on the cover of a magazine.
Right.
The top 5 ways to avoid bankruptcy, things like that. So I would reach out to the media and just use that same content and push that message and be a resource.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so I've been talking about it in the context of what we're calling advertising. But think about what I'm doing for a moment. Am I marketing to the maybes right now? Sure. I'm putting myself out through a channel, offering my expertise. At the end of this presentation, will say, if you want to connect with me, please give me your card. And we're just starting a conversation. That conversation may lead to a business relationship, it may not. So too, placing stuff in media. Yes, sir.
Fitting in with that theme, 5 legal pitfalls that can destroy your business or stop your growth.
5 legal pitfalls that can destroy your business or stop your growth. So, nice headline, because marketers should be marketing to people's desires and or their fears. So, yeah, you're striking at a fear. What is your business in particular?
What is my business in particular? I help business owners reduce risk, protect their assets, get peace of mind, and choose their legacy.
Very good. Other ideas? Oh, come on. Jennifer, I picked on you earlier. Where should that banner ad point?
I'm thinking a free webinar recording to get on my newsletter list.
A free webinar, what's the topic?
The topic would probably be to-do list management or email management, something like that.
So organizing, yeah. And what's the benefit of putting together a to-do list?
To get it out of your head is the main thing, and then to get it done.
And to get it out of your head, to get it done, period, or to get it done more quickly, less headache and hassle?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not selling creating a list. You're selling the benefit of what comes from creating the list. So free webinar to organize ways to get your tasks done more productively and efficiently with less headache and hassle, something like that. Okay. And again, how many phone calls, how many sales do you think you've made from the banner ad?
Oh, I stopped doing it. That will tell you.
Yeah, and what happens is people stop doing it and then they say, banner advertising didn't work for me. It's not necessarily the media you choose. It might be the message and the offer that you put forward. If all you do is market to the yeses, the ready buyers, you'll have very little response. But if you market to the maybes and then continue from there, much better. So let's talk now about engagement. What happens next? What happens when somebody signs up for your free report or attends your webinar or attends your seminar? First thing to think about, and Jennifer, we were just talking about this, is you don't sell a product or service. You sell the outcome that comes from that product or service. A great way to think about this is by sharing with you an example of an advertisement that's my favorite advertisement. If any of you have been with me when I've spoken before, I fall back on this one all the time. It's a color advertisement that you see in magazines and on the internet. And it's a photograph, black and white, of a Nebraska farm boy. His tractor hat kind of tilted. He has kind of faraway eyes, and he's standing in a muddy field. It's dark and cloudy and kind of dreary. He's holding this yellow box. The photograph's black and white except for the bright yellow box. And the copy next to the photograph says, he was a Nebraska farm boy. She was an Italian supermodel. He had just one chance to impress her. Rosetta Stone, the quickest way to learn, underline, Italian. It's a brilliant ad. And what's brilliant about that ad is that the folks at Rosetta Stone understood that what they sell is not language learning programs. What they sell is romance, adventure, avoiding embarrassment and humiliation, and so forth. That's a fairy tale, Nebraska farm boy and Italian supermodel. But if you and your partner are off to Italy next month or next year, you're buying Rosetta Stone for the same reason. Romance, adventure, not being the ugly American who can't speak a lick of the language, being able to go into the little village where nobody speaks English and not be embarrassed and humiliated. And so, if you go to Rosetta Stone's Facebook page, pardon me, or blog, what you'll find is not pitch, 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 pitch. Here's the latest edition of our product, and we just added, 6 new lessons and new pictures to our CDs and videos. What you'll find is articles about travel, interactive stuff, share your photos from your latest adventure, content that is entertaining, engaging, and that speaks to the heart of what they do. So for us, what we sell is attracting, engaging, converting, and maximizing the lifetime value of client relationships. And so we spend a lot of time producing content that's of value to our clients and very little time producing content that's simply, here's what we do, here's why you should buy, here's how to start. Tips, interesting, informative, helpful information. Content that reflects what you sell. So for Jennifer, it's going to be content about helping to organize your life that leads them to the sale. For Steve, it's going to be seminars and content that helps sort through the fact and fiction about how to manage the elder care experience. For you, it's going to be tips about legal pitfalls and things that you need to know. And ultimately, what you are doing is demonstrating your expertise, building trust, giving people a reason to spend time with you on social media, to open the emails that you send them. So Ben talked about how much he hates email, and I don't blame him because our inboxes are full of junk. But if you fill the inboxes of the people who have engaged with you with stuff that is educational, informative, entertaining, helpful, it will rise above the noise. People will open your emails. People ask me the question all the time, how much is too much for email? How much email should I send? How frequently? And my answer, which sounds flip, is not. It's if you're sending valuable content, you can't send enough. If you're sending irrelevant content, you can't send too little. Okay? Karen, how about you? How do you engage prospects and clients? How do you help your clients do that? Karen focuses mostly on social media, and it's a great channel for doing this sort of engagement.
Well, it's the same type of thing. It's giving great content, but it's not all about me, me, me. It's about all the things that benefit your client. Know your ideal client. Know who you're speaking to and speak to their needs and their wants before you ever get to speak about what you do for them.
Mm-hmm. So if we move over to pages 33 and 34. Let's skip to 34 for a second. One of the best ways to figure out how to produce the content that you might put forward in a communications program is to start by saying, what are the frequently asked questions that I hear from my prospects and my clients? What are the things they're asking about? What are the things they're wondering about? What are they worried about? And on this worksheet, I think there are 12 rows. I hope there are 12 rows. In that first column, just begin to jot down what are some of the frequently asked questions that you hear from your clients. So for us in the interactive marketing space, you know, that question, how often should I send? What content should I produce? Should I put video in my emails? These are all questions that we hear. And by thinking through those questions in advance, I'm consciously planning the conversations that I'm going to have in social media and in my email newsletter and on my blog. Second column, what are the questions they should ask but they're not? For you in the financial services business, in the legal business, it's a fairly easy thing. There are a lot of things they don't know to ask, and they should. List them down. It's a little trickier in other businesses, but if you think about it, you'll come up with a good list. Things they should be asking. And finally, what are the common objections? What are the common objections that you run into when you have conversations with prospects and with clients? And the importance of this exercise, what we recommend that you do is fill this out. And when you first fill this out, you may only be able to fill out 2 or 3 or 4 rows. And step back and try again. And get it to a point where you have all 12 rows and all 3 columns filled out. Because at that point, you have the outline for the content that you'll put out month after month after month for 12 months, 12 rows, 12 months. And the idea is that you're not just going to sit down and write a little essay or a little article each time, whether it's on your blog or in an email newsletter or something like that. What you're going to do is notice the things that are happening around you, something that you read, something that you experienced with a client, and you're going to be able to share stories. We talked, I think somebody mentioned earlier, it may have actually been Scott in your presentation, about the notion of you don't have to be a content creator. You can repurpose other people's content and just make reference to it. You can be a curator. If you find a great article that answers one of these questions or addresses one of these objections, share it on social media, reference to it in an email with a link or on your blog, and just put into context why it's important. If you're a good curator, as well as a content creator, you're going to provide that value that's going to engage those maybes and move them through a sales process, get them closer to choosing to do business with you. Now we're running a little short of time, so rather than turn the camera off and take 5 minutes and let you all fill stuff out, I think everybody understands the concept. So take home page 34, fill it out, or create the same page in some form, tack it on the bulletin board next to your desk, reference it, and you'll have far less writer's block as you think about what should I do on my blog or in my social media or in my email newsletter. Now let's talk about conversion. Know how you close. If you're in the legal business, if you're in the financial services business, if you're in a B2B business where the thing that you sell is many thousands of dollars as opposed to a CD or a meal at a restaurant, you sell your product or service with at least a telephone call, probably face-to-face, probably more than one face-to-face. So don't leave yourself with the mindset that social media doesn't do me any good or email doesn't do me any good because nobody will buy my product or service unless I meet with them. That's a mistake. Social media, email, this engagement communications that we're discussing will help you figure out who are the people I should call to invite to a meeting. Maybe the follow-up email is not, okay, are you ready to hire me as a lawyer or as a financial advisor? No, but it may be, would you like to attend a seminar, or would you like to call me? Can I call you to schedule a cup of coffee? So the real trick to conversion is understanding that the new technologies that are at our disposal, the new technologies that we're using to engage our prospects, are wonderful for many reasons, but when it comes to selling, they're best because you can track. You know who is following you and who's commenting and who's responding on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and so forth. You can track, if you use an email service provider, who opened the email, who clicked through on the link for this product or service. So at Marketville, we do three things. We provide the software that our clients can use themselves to create, deliver, and track their email campaigns. We provide professional services so that if you want us to do it for you, we can do it. And we provide strategic consulting. Tomorrow or later this week, our monthly newsletter is going out to all those people who signed up for the subject line tips or who have attended one of our webinars, to all of you if you choose to give me your card and join my mailing list. And in that newsletter, there will be an item about the fact that we have professional services and an item about the fact that we have consulting, and click here to learn more. And those people who click through are people whom we identify as warmer prospects. So we have thousands of people in our database whom we've connected with over time. And if we said, let's try to sell more consulting services, we have a choice. We could pick up the phone and starting alphabetically or starting by industry or some other way, we could call 1,000 people, one after another. We could knock on every door on every floor. We've all been there, cold calling. Or we could strategically say, who is engaging with this content about this product and service? Who is engaging with this content about this product and service? And then be selective about how we reach out. The how we reach out might be an invitation to another webinar or seminar. It might be, we're going to pick up the phone and call all the people who click the link, and we're going to end up with 5 meetings on 25 phone calls instead of 10 meetings on 500 phone calls. Which is better? So, when does this end? Oh, we're in great shape. So Karen,
Okay,
talk a little bit, because I talked about email, but social media tracking. How do you, as you set up social campaigns for your clients, use the metrics and the measuring and the data that is uncovered to help move to the sale?
Okay. Well, as Tom has already alluded to, I believe totally in email because everything's in your list. Doesn't matter what it is, whether you're using social media to get you there or whether you're using the email list that you already have, but you need their name and information. You need the proprietary information. You don't want to count on your social media for that. We don't think it will, but it could go away tomorrow. We don't have that guarantee. So if you have your own proprietary information, your list, you can always move forward with it. So with that being said, when I'm doing a social media campaign, we work it around. We want you to do an email campaign. We also want to make sure that everything that's going out, you have a way to gather that information, whether it's offering that free product or doing a webinar or contact us. There's a lot of means that direction. And then again, keeping track of watching your statistics and, and how we're gaining and what we're doing and what it's taking to get those statistics to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll share a story with you. My nephew, not my nephew, my cousin, he's young enough to be my nephew, but my cousin works for one of the big accounting firms, nationally known accounting firms, works out of Boston for this firm. And this firm has, as its charity of choice, I think March of Dimes, or one of the enormous charities. And he got really involved, urged on by his bosses at the firm, but ultimately he got turned on and participated in the fun run and began to send out emails, sponsor me, and sponsor $1 a mile and all this stuff, and really was part of the Young Friends movement for this local chapter for this charity. And then he sent to me an email, forwarded to me an email he received. And the email invited him to a seminar with a financial planner to discuss planned giving. Come sit down with us to discuss your end-of-life planning. And great, charities want to connect with those people who are going to make those big legacy gifts. But this was a 23-year-old kid, and he wrote me and he said, I am creeped out. He said, I don't have a girlfriend, I'm not married, I am so far from thinking about having children, much less my end-of-life issues. Why in the world did they send me this email? And I responded, they sent you the email because you're on their list. And their approach is to send everything to everybody every time, regardless of interest. And it's what most businesses do, and it's why you hate email, and it's why I hate getting emails like that, because businesses assume that once I have your email, I have license to send you any and all garbage that I'm going to put out. And they're not strategic about thinking, well, if I'm going to talk about planned giving, which is a sensitive subject, how about if I talk to the people who want to talk about planned giving? How about if I figure out who's interested? Instead of making the number one mistake that businesses make with their email marketing, which is to send everything to everybody every time, regardless of interest. It's the mistake that people make in social media as well. In social media, you can, in things like LinkedIn or in Facebook, you can segment by geography. And when you send out a mass message, which you can do, why in the world would you invite everybody on your whole list, including your whole network of college friends, to that event in St. Louis? It just fills their wall or their inbox with garbage. So what could the charity have done? Well, the charity could have, either knowing who their planned giving targets were, uploaded into their mail system a segmented list, or they could have used tracking who's clicking through to, in a newsletter that might include photos of the fun run, that includes all sorts of stuff for everybody, a link to an article in the Wall Street Journal about how tax laws are changing, and if you're doing end-of-life planning, here are some things you might want to consider. Well, they send that to 5,000 people. 100 might click through. Let's invite those 100 people to the seminar, because those 100 people are the people who are interested. I work for a charity that is doing, I'm on the board of a charity that's doing amazing research for neurological disorders, ALS, Parkinson's, Huntington's, spinal cord injury, Alzheimer's, so forth. And we've set up a Facebook community called Shout Out for Hope. And if you know anyone who has ever been stricken by one of these disorders, go check it out. Shoutoutforhope.org will jump you over to Facebook. And the idea for Shout Out for Hope is we ask the question, who do you know and what is your hope? You know someone, and from that someone who's been stricken, you can find inspiration and hope, hope for treatment and cures. Just tell your story on Facebook. Well, it's a grassroots movement. The idea behind this is to draw people in to tell their stories. But there's also a core group of people who have supported this foundation from its beginning, and we know who they are. And when we see people who we know are part of our major gift prospect list show up on our Facebook wall, post shout-outs, participate, get really involved, are really connecting their heart to the cause, our development director can say, I'm going to call that person and have a cup of coffee. That's a whole lot different than how it used to be, which is, well, each year we send letters, and each year we make some phone calls, and here are our prospects. We'll just kind of work down the list and see where we get. What we've done is created a means for people who care, who have interest, to connect and engage and participate in an experience, on Facebook in this case. And we can pay attention because they're there. They're not just out in the stratosphere looking at the ad and gone. They're there, they're with us, they're conversing, they're engaging. And by paying attention to who is engaging, you can have much more effective selling conversations, you can identify your best prospects, and you can sell. My contact information, Karen's contact information. Can everybody see that phone number at the bottom? Karen's phone number is 636-677-7654. Pardon me. If you have business cards with you, I would ask that you pull out 2 copies of the business card. Here's what I am going to do. I'm going to walk around the room, and I am going to collect, Karen and I both will walk around the room. I'm going to collect business cards from you. Everybody who gives me their business card, I will send a copy of this presentation. Incidentally, everybody who's attending this event is going to have access to videos of all the presentations, not just the ones you attended. But I'm going to collect your business cards, and I will send you a copy of the presentation before you get an email with the video. That's going to come from E4E. I will also add you to our email list, MarketVolt's email list, tips on how to grow your business, news, offers, so on and so forth. If you want the presentation, but you do not want to be on the email list, simply say no email list on the card, but give me your card. Incidentally, what I just did was modeled a really important marketing tip. And that is, if you're at a trade show or a networking event or speaking before a group of people, just because you collect a business card does not mean the person who's on that card has given you license to add them to your mailing list. Ask permission. So, yes? So the question was, if you've ended up on somebody's email list and they're sending you all sorts of stuff, you want to be off their list, how do you get off the list? The short answer is that if somebody is not giving you an explicit and easy way to opt out, and if somebody, if somebody is ignoring requests that you're sending to the reply address or the phone number you call, they're violating the law. So, there's no easy answer for somebody who's willingly violating the law and spamming you around that. From your perspective as business people wondering how to execute a communications strategy, using an email service provider, and there are many, MarketVolt's just one, but using an email service provider that allows users subscribers easily to opt out with one click, and that sort of has built into it compliance with the laws that govern this, is something you really need to do, because you don't want to manage this thing manually with people replying or calling. I don't have a great answer for you. There are people who don't do it right, and who, there's somewhat of an urban myth that says never opt out. Well, it's definitely an urban myth in the sense that this idea, don't ever opt out, because if you opt out, that just tells the spammers that you exist. Well, the vast majority of email marketing is done ethically and done by people using systems like ours who are going to protect the privacy and respect the opt-out requests. The ones who aren't doing that, I don't have an easy answer. I wish I did. Okay. Karen, any parting thoughts?
Yes, I would like to give kudos, first of all, to Tom. I have used several email marketing companies for myself and for clients, and there is none like Market Volt, that you can segregate and you can do specific campaigns, you know, to specific groups. So if you've not done one, or you've had one and you've not had access to these types of tools, I highly suggest that you look at Market Volt. It is high caliber, and I highly recommend them.
Thank you, Karen. And I would say the same about Karen Fox, Karen the Connector, her social media work. Feelings mutual, so thank you. I forgot to do something at the beginning of this presentation, which was to say, if any of you are on social media using Twitter, the handle for E4E is Don't Fly Alone, so at Don't Fly Alone, or hashtag Don't Fly Alone. If you're so inclined to share the fact that you were here, share any of the insights that you've heard or will hear over the course of the day, go ahead and tweet using that handle, Don't Fly Alone event, hashtag Don't Fly Alone. And I guess the same could be said with LinkedIn. So I'm going to come around and get cards. It was really a pleasure. Again, I put my phone number up there. I know Karen does as well, not as just some lip service to call me and then I don't return calls. I pick up the phone, I return calls. I'd be happy to field follow-up questions. I'll be here through the rest of the morning, as will Karen. If you want to talk to me directly, I'd be happy to talk. And I'll walk around and collect those cards, and I thank you very, very much.